Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of FU. Good to have you all on. Jeremy's here, I'm Josh.
Yo.
Probably do it in that order. We have both Roger and Dan in.
Hello.
For part 2 of this majama.
Shalom.
So, alright, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. We are going to talk about this. Quick thing, our sponsors, We Love Fine. Bronyville 10 gets you 10% off of the purchases over at We Love Fine with all their shirts, gifts, goodness, and all that stuff. So check that out. We've already done, this is part of a two-parter. We've already done gratuitous media consumption and news. So let's go ahead and get straight into the topic. I'm going to actually play the theme song for funsies. Because what we are going to talk about now is the series that I can't get this damn theme song out of my head. It's Steven Universe. You guys won't hear it, so hold on one second.
Are the crystal gems will always save the day. And if you think we can, we'll always find a way. That's why the people of this world believe in garnet, amethyst, and pearl, and Steven!
I can't get that damn theme song out of my head.
It's an earworm.
Do you want to mention one of the voice actresses is Estelle, who is a
Which one? For which character? Garnet? Okay. Yeah, so Steven Universe, Dan, you were the one that brought up doing this, so tell me some about Steven Universe.
Well, Steven Universe is a show on Cartoon Network. I believe it's on Mondays, whenever Cartoon Network feels like airing it. I want to say it's, 8 o'clock these days? So, something around there. Steven Universe is a show created by Rebecca Sugar, who people probably know as someone who worked on Adventure Time. She had wrote a lot of music, done a lot of storyboards, done a lot of writing for that show. And Steven Universe is her first show that she's spearheading and creating on Cartoon Network. And it's interesting because Steven Universe is the first show to have been created by a woman on Cartoon Network. As far as I know, until now, every Cartoon Network show has been created by a man. It's the first one that's been done by a woman, which is a pretty big step for Cartoon Network, especially considering their considerable problems in this field that we were talking about lately. Yeah. Steven Universe, just a quick synopsis for people not in the know, is a show about 4 characters called the Crystal Gems. Crystal Gems are Steven, who is the son of another character on the show, Mr. Universe, his father, and Rose Quartz,
yep,
his mother, who used to be one of the Crystal Gems, until she's not anymore, unfortunately. And his 3, I guess you could call them sisters in a way. You have Garnet, whose actress, unfortunately, I don't have the IMDb up, so I don't remember it right now. Garnet, the kind of strong...
Garnet is Estelle.
Estelle, that's right. And then you have Pearl, who I liken to think of her as everybody's mom.
Yeah.
And then you have Amethyst, who is more like your, older sister who likes to get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Pearl done by Didi Mango and Amethyst by Michaela Deese.
Yeah, and you get all 4 of these characters together, and they basically live their lives saving the town of Beach City. And every episode goes through, either there's a problem, as it usually is, a problem that has to be solved. And we learn something about Steven and the other gems along the way. And it's actually been kind of a surprise for me, because when I first saw the pilot, and people will talk about the pilot and say, oh, they should have kept the character designs from the pilot. But I mean, I'm indifferent on that front. But you see it and you realize that it's got this kind of video game aesthetic thing to it, which sort of comes from Adventure Time and that other stuff that has been, pulling that little bits of nostalgia from the 1980s video game aesthetic and inserting it into their shows with the sound and graphics and things like that. And it's just been so refreshing. It's very subversive, but not in the Adventure Time way. It's subversive because it's a show that you look at and you say, oh, this is going to be a show about a boy who goes out and has adventures. But it's not just about that. all of the characters are very well defined, and Sugar has done a very good job at, let's go back a bit. As you know, one of the other shows we like to watch has a lot of women characters in it, except they happen to be women horses. This one has actual women in it, and so that level of abstraction is gone that you had with a show like that. So you start running into the problems of network executives saying, "Oh, boys won't watch it because it's a quote girls show." Yep. But even though it is, in my opinion, a show that attracts stuff across both genders or whatever, however you may identify yourself, as the case may be these days, it's subversive in that you can have, I think, a little boy watching it, and he won't think it's a girl's show, but a girl will watch it and say, yes, this absolutely is targeted for me. Because as you know, girls' shows, quote, do not sell these days, which is rather unfortunate. And by having the character of Steven act as a male in society who has female characters with him who are fully realized and actual people, actually does a lot more to get those young boys who might be watching the show to say, hey, Steven doesn't treat the other Crystal Gems just as girls. He treats them as people. And even though this is always in the background, it's always influencing the tone of the show. Mm-hmm. And aside from the fact of it's very funny, it's setting a really good example for what television and children's cartoons could be like if executives would just let people do their thing and actually put something out there.
Yeah, the thing that I think aesthetically, just by the style, does kind of, I get kind of two feelings of it. The first is kind of what you mentioned, an 80s kind of video gamey, it's got a lot of, teal and pink and just a very retro style in that. The actual design themselves, I almost akin more to 70s, early 80s era anime, with the very, smooth forms. There wasn't a lot of, everything had just this very, don't want to say basic, but it had a very simplified structure to it. Mm-hmm. That I think, it lends itself to be different in a way it's not anything that's, you could say, oh, that looks like Adventure Time, or, oh, that looks like the Bravest Warriors. It's just subtle enough that it's its own kind of oddity. And there are parts of it that I think that they tell really kind of interesting stories in the characters without even explaining it at all. The moment that Steven's dad shows up and he's got that horrific tan, and I'm just
he's this total schlubby.
Oh, God, that tan hurts me. Every time he came on the screen, I was just like, ow, just looking at, you could just tell it it almost formed the story of Steven is part of, this squad of people that goes out and fights crimes, but you could always tell that his dad was always just maybe this secondary, hey, I'm the schlubby part that, just I'm just a regular dude who owns a car wash.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because they don't come out and say it, but when you're watching the show, you kind of get the feeling that the other Crystal Gems don't really care for Mr. Universe all that much. You watch it and they're, because the gist of it is, I believe, is that for Steven to come into the world, or it's implied that Rose Quartz either had to die, which is kind of depressing, or maybe she ascended to some other, who the hell knows? They haven't addressed it in the show, and it's actually a nice little thing that they didn't just come out and say, oh, Rose Quartz died, because it lets you look at it, at the relationship that they have, because when Steven's dad comes over and he's coming over in his RV, with a grill and other stuff, you can see the disdain that they have, Mr. Universe, he's kind of a bad influence on Steven. You can, especially with Pearl, just again,
well,
she wants
Pearl
to be
would think that way, because
well, it's kind of they're like, okay, look, you are the husband of our former teammate, and their kid's one of us. that doesn't make you our friends.
Yeah, it's also they're also like, what did Rose see in him kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like he's this schlubby guy who doesn't exactly make a lot of money, and he runs a car wash. He's just your average, working guy, and this magical being from outer space falls in love with you. That's also one of those very 1980s anime kind of thing that you were talking about.
And all that we're talking about never has been discussed, but it's just stuff that you kind of absorb just by watching it and going and just noticing the interaction and putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
The impression I always got is that it felt like, or from what I've seen so far, I would say the show is like post Sailor Moon. It's got like a few shades of it, but it's got the idea there's there's like the Magic Girl Squad. And this is like the next generation after that, sort of, and it's that was like the impression I got from it. Like,
Yes,
and
Steven is great in that front.
and the real Abba in the chat mentions that each of the characters has a very distinctive design. It's like Amethyst is very round, Garnet is very square, Pearl is very triangular. It's like they each have this is their design.
And I saw somebody mention something about that, is that the crystal gems, they're all basically shapeshifters. That's who they choose to be. It's because they're not forced to be that way. That's how they want to be, which is, again, as you were saying, it leads to something very interesting with their designs, because Amethyst wants to be this short, round, stocky lady. That's who she wants to be. Power to her.
And, Pearl looks like a ballerina. Yeah.
Now, one thing I'm going to be curious is, at least thus far that I've seen in the series, there hasn't been a lot. You can think of stuff like Adventure Time, where it doesn't, the episodes don't entirely seem linked together until they have a certain number of episodes that actually start to tell a little bit of a story, and then they go away and do some more random episodes. I'm going to be interested to see how much that they actually do in the season impacts episodes later on in the season. I recalled in the first episode, like, Steven couldn't do any magic much at all, and then, he's doing cat fingers and a whole bunch of other stuff later on.
Oh, cat fingers.
So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of happens as that progresses as the season goes on. Because, for the most part, the other three are going out and they're doing the bulk of everything. And he more or less ends up, stumbling onto the solution one way or another.
Yeah, and Cat Fingers and its companion episode, Frybo, are also one of the things that kind of goes into some weird,
Definitely weird.
The consequences of, screwing around with, things you don't know fully. So, like, Frybo, it's about, hey, these magical crystals that animate clothes. And, Pearl explains it, and Steven just kind of sits there and thinks to himself, while she's explaining, if you listen to Pearl, she tells exactly what would happen when he uses these things, and he's just off in his own little world.
And then he realizes halfway through, he's like, oh man, I haven't been paying attention to Pearl.
It's too late to pay attention now. Oh man,
No.
Where are my pants?
That's unusual. Oh, that's so funny.
And then, of course, the Cat Fingers is just weird. It's like...
Baby's first body horror.
Yeah, that's what I said. And, because Steven has shapeshifter powers. He just doesn't know how to use them yet. He tries to do it. And
Tries to shapeshift himself into a cat and can simply just make a cat appear on his finger. And then discovers that that's really cool. So goes around town making his entire hand cats. Small cats. And then it spreads to the rest of his body. It's bizarre.
So everybody here has seen Tiger Millionaire, right?
Yes.
yes.
I have not.
Okay. I think so far Tiger Millionaire is probably the single best episode of the show so far. They could always make something better, but from start to finish, everything about it is great. I cannot think of any flaws with that episode.
And the funny thing is, it's the least actiony episode. It's the least like them going out and fighting or doing anything. It's just like it explains more of Amethyst, is that correct? It shows a lot more of her backstory of just being kind of the wild child.
Yeah, like Thralba in the chat said, sometimes Amethyst wants to be a big, hairy wrestler dude. And sometimes we all want to be like that. And you're right, because you look into a little more of her motivation. Like, her and Steven are talking together. And Amethyst is saying, you don't know what it's like to have Garnet and Pearl on your backs all the time. Not realizing that Garnet and Pearl are kind of on Steven's back all the time, too. And, they have a little bonding moment over their little brain problems that they have with their relationships with the other characters. But even though they play it for laughs sometimes, there's definitely, you can see there's some strife. Not all is well in the world of the Crystal Gems.
Yeah, and Tiger Millionaire was great because it's also a play off of professional wrestling and specifically the $1 Million Man.
Yes. The various things that he created a whole background to his character.
Yes.
The
he
backstory.
pulled himself out from his bootstraps.
In the coconut mines.
In the coconut mines.
Then is able to save the day with a backstory that he created for for Amethyst's character, and then Pearl and Garnet. I won't spoil the rest of the episode, but then everything resolving by just silly wrestling logic.
By just being 80s wrestling, and
boo, we're now going to side with them.
And you don't even have the nice thing about it, and one thing that they're very good with this show is that they're able to take a lot of these topics, and it's really a mark of good writing in general, that you don't have to be familiar with what they're trying to talk about in order to be able to get it. Like, you don't have to know about wrestling to get Tiger Millionaire. It certainly helps, that if you know about like heels and everything else, but if you don't know it, the show does it's very economical in its storytelling. It doesn't let something sit for too long. It just keeps going, and if you don't get it, maybe you'll go back and rewatch it and get it a second time. But it just, even if you hadn't seen wrestling at all, you'll understand, how it's as a form of entertainment, does what it does, and it maybe has a little bit of commentary on that front as far as that entertainment medium goes. But Steven learns a lot from wrestling. You wouldn't think that would be true, but he does.
The sports entertainments.
Yeah. And the ending of the episode, when they finally go, can we just have this? I'm like, fine.
Yeah. It's because it shows like one of the good microcosms of the struggles of all of the characters, because they're all very different people. Because Amethyst, as we can see, and as you said, she's very wild child. She's got a rambunctious streak. She has no tact. She'll say whatever she's thinking and doesn't really care if it'll affect other people, which is a positive and a negative in some ways for her as a character. And then you have, Pearl, who, like I said, she's trying to be the one in charge. She has to be seen as being the person in charge, and I think a lot of people know somebody like that. And then you have Garnet, who, you have these strong, silent type characters. But I think with Garnet, her economy of words is what sets her apart, because she doesn't say much, but it's very hard to get those characters, because you can have quiet characters like, say, a Silent Bob. He never talks. He only talks once in a great while, and when he does, it's, a gag or something insightful. Whereas you could say with Garnet, when she talks, she does not want to say anything extraneous.
Mm-hmm. The only thing,
which is a problem I have sometimes.
The only thing I hope is that I do feel that at least with Pearl and Garnet, that I'm waiting for them, at least based off the episodes I see, I'm waiting to have an episode that actually makes me connect with them. Because Amethyst, I feel I got a little bit out of Tiger Millionaire that way. But
I think we're going to see those kind of things coming up.
Because I just don't feel as connected. Garnet is so detached that, you know, it's very hard. She just kind of interjects, and it's just kind of like, well, okay. And Pearl is just on top of them all the time, that it's you know, it's going to be one of those things where those characters are going to have their moment and to kind of endear the watcher, I think.
I think it's, yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I think we had the episode where it was the Labyrinth, where it was mostly Steven and Garnet doing their thing. I'm not sure if you saw that one.
I did, yeah.
I did actually.
I
see
mean,
that one.
But it wasn't on the level of Tiger Millionaire, even though you got to see some of Garnet's personality as to how she deals with Steven. Because unlike Pearl, who, you know, she babies Steven's a little too much, I think Garnet understands that he's got a lot of potential, and the way he uses his power is going to be very important. But I'm not really sure where I'm going with that, other than the sense that Garnet is more willing to let Steven do his own thing and fail and try to pick up, whereas Pearl will just say, no, Steven, you don't even get to try that at all. And, you know, sometimes that backfires on Garnet, like the teacups in the Labyrinth episode. The teacups. I wouldn't say that Garnet's the Raven. You know, she's not dark and gloomy. She's just quiet.
She's stoic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Anybody else have something else they want to bring up on the episode? The only thing I'll say is keep Beach City weird. So
Yes. Oh,
I need buttons of that.
Yes. I mean, that's another thing about the show that's really nice is the background stuff is all very, again, because they don't dwell on it too much, it winds up being very, very interesting. Like the two characters, Lars and Sadie, the characters who run the Big Donut. Mm-hmm. You know, you see them in the first episode, and you know, you say, "Oh, Lars is kind of a jerk," and you know, Sadie is friendly with Steven. But then you realize and say, "Hey, wait a minute! You know, these two are kind of madly in love with each other, even though they're not exactly, you know, huggy, kissy, whatever." Like in Tiger Millionaire, they're both at the wrestling match, and you know, Lars is really super into it. And Sadie's just like, oh, whatever, you know. And,
that sounds like Steven.
Yeah,
and Lars, who usually heckles Steven all the time, is so totally into Tiger Millionaire.
But you see, there's this little background bit with the two of them where Lars is just going crazy happy, and you can see Sadie. She looks at him, and she just gets this little smile on her face. She's like, "I'm happy to see him happy." You know, and I'm sure there's some other ways that I can't remember off the top of my head that it goes the other way around. Because Lars, you know, I think it was the episode with the bubble where they had the two of them together, and you know, they're just bickering, and Steven goes, "Oh yeah, they're crazy in love with each other." You can see that it's just cute.
I'd like to. I just saw this because there's a list of who did what voice. Apparently, the mayor is voiced by Joel Hodgson. That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh.
They're all, but it's not shipping if it's canon.
Joel Hodgson. That's pretty good.
For those not know, he's from Mystery Science Theater.
Ah.
Joel.
He's the previous host before Mike.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley, voiced by Sinbad.
Yes. He was Mr. Smiley was the announcer at the in the wrestling match for Tiger Millionaire.
Also ride operator for Beach City Funland.
Yes.
Listed here. Steven! But yeah, it's been, you know, I watched it and I think I had the same. I watched the pilot and I was like, this seems all right. We can talk about this. And then the more I started like watching it, I'm like, okay, I get it. I get this now. I'm not sure I'd put this on my like constant watch immediately when it comes out, but I think it'll probably go into that same pile of Adventure Time of just like, oh, I should probably catch up on that, you know, and see what's going on. The good thing is that right now, if you have the usual cable subscriptions, you can actually catch 4 episodes on the Cartoon Network site. So you can catch 4 full episodes without commercials up there. So that's pretty cool. Let me think if there's anything else that we need to hit up on this.
Just more. One thing that was nice about Steven Universe is that aside from less about the show and more about the production and stuff behind it. One of the guys who's working on the show, doing a lot of directing work, is Ian Jones Quarterly, who Iran might remember him as Ian J on Something Awful forums. But he did work on the Venture Brothers as a storyboard artist, and I remember him from way back in the day when he did the webcomic RPG World.
Never.
No
I'm
way.
not sure if anybody remembers that.
Really?
Yes, really. Ian J was the guy who did RPG World, and he's doing a lot of work on Steven Universe, and it's nice. It's kind of weird because we used to hang out in like IRC, back in the old days of your webcomic is bad, and talking about comics and stuff. I mean, this is like 8 years ago. He doesn't even know who I am, but just seeing people, this has been a common thing that's been happening a lot with these shows lately, is a lot of these independent comics, web comics type people are starting to influence the production of shows and things like that. And you got to wonder, at least in my world, I'm thinking, there's going to be some kind of clash, between the executives and other stuff when it comes to producing these things, because these people have been they've been doing their own thing for years. And now you finally get to do your own thing, except you're getting paid for it, and you're doing it for Cartoon Network or some other company.
Yeah, so it's like,
and you start.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was just saying their previous like they can do whatever they want, and suddenly they have to. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? They have to face the reality of like publishing and working with a corporate entity.
And it's been just being able to do something like, I mean, I don't think you could have done Steven Universe, say 6-7 years ago. I don't think a show like that would have gotten through the meat grinder. I mean, even though Cartoon Network is still problematic in so many ways, it at least seems like a sign to me that we might be able to start seeing something a little more varied, something that appeals to somebody who isn't just a 8 or to 12-year-old boy who will buy whatever toy you put out there. Because I mean, I used to be that boy, and it's a case where hopefully they won't have to suffer through the same kind of things I did when I was 8 to 12 years old. Because even though Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back then, I mean, we were okay with it, but going back and looking at that now, you say, man, how did I watch that when I was a kid?
I think like the opposite is like Pete and Pete, which is like,
yes, exactly. Like it's good that you bring that up, because Pete and Pete was such a great show because it didn't treat the viewers like idiots.
no, it was like, that was one thing. Like I remember watching it as a kid, and it was like, it was funny and all. And then like I think we had a big discussion for this. It was like that show was so like weird and indie by today's standards. Like,
Yeah.
like where I
Hey,
remember
Sandy.
I remember
Yo.
so few episodes of Pete and Pete, but the one that I do is the episode where the younger Pete ends up getting the job of mowing the interstate. And it's just miles of interstate, but he gets paid so well. He's just like, all right, just hand mowers the whole like side of the interstate.
I know Dan's favorite episode, which is definitely the one where little Pete has fakes being sick so he can stay home, and just like
And that is one of my favorite episodes. It really is. I mean, that one from start to finish.
that episode is amazing, and is one of those ones where like this is like what a kid in like elementary school thinks, like, oh, this is what the world is going on while I'm at school.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's, all the parents are at work, all the kids are at school, and then all like the weird people come out. So he's at home, and it's like the crazy mail woman who's like recording every last like angstrom of her life for the intention of making some epic autobiography, and like the meter reader, and oh god, that episode is so good.
Pete and Pete goes on the list.
It's not even a cartoon,
Yeah.
but it goes on the list.
Yep. I have to say that I think my personal favorite episode of Pete and Pete was the one where Pete's family and God, why can't I? This is so bad. I can't remember her name.
Oh,
Ellen.
Ellen.
And Ellen's because Ellen's dad was Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
Oh
Is
God.
this the one where they have they have the race?
The war.
Oh.
They basically they had the war between the two of them, and it's just so bizarre. It's like the idea that neighbors would have a war with each other, and just all this like Artie moving the house,
like 1
a
inch,
quarter of an inch.
The scene he like walks up and he pulls his key out and like tries to put it in and he misses the lock by like an inch and he just kind of stares there like confounded at it.
Yeah, he's like, that's not where that's supposed to be. My muscle memory is not correct.
I enjoyed the scene that like the opening episode and like and older Pete is like kind of doing his narration and he's like, some people thought it was just a strange turn of events and he's like, it's like I recognized it was a miracle, and they show like the car driving off the cliff and exploding.
Yes,
and it's like, what the hell is going to happen in this episode?
In terms of that show, there, even though we look at it as the funny bits, there's also the really important bits that I thought. One episode that always stuck with me was the episode where Big Pete took shop class.
With an endless mic.
Yes, with Endless Mike. And the shop teacher, I forget the actor who played the shop teacher, but he had the the claw for the hand.
Yes, that's right.
And the moral of that episode, about the people who take care in things and have a problem with people who don't put effort into things, was something that always stuck with me.
Okay, you two lovebirds need to hold this for a Pete and Pete episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, we need to put Pirates of Dark Water on that list.
we could just talk about Pete and Pete for hours.
That's a show that
Pirates of Dark Water. We need to put King of the Hill on that list.
Oh man,
saying if you
the ride never ends.
If you do Pirates of Dark Water, come tell me. I will be here with a sword. And yeah, well, we can talk about it.
All right, so
We'll be there.
We'll get those down. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Last call on Steven Universe. I believe we have covered it. Go check it out. Looks like it is on Mondays on Cartoon Network, and it's a pretty good show. And go watch 4 episodes for free up on Cartoon Network site. You just got to have your usual cable subscription login, and you're all good. So go check that out. All right, we've got emails. You can always email across to us over at our other site, bronyville@gmail.com. We will pick it up for the FU show. We'll just, notice it and keep a lookout. I'll go first and Jeremy will go second. Let's do this. Hey, FU guys. Hey. Steven Universe really has it going on. Cute designs, occasional the feels, action, and some solid opening episodes. It's definitely worth a look. Have you ever watched Wolf Children? I was curious to hear your thoughts. Beautiful or a little over the top in places. No email would be complete without mentioning Josh Triggerword. What would you think about the Sonic redesigns? Who doesn't love bandages and steroids? Maybe I can help sell Kill la Kill to me. Every time I think I've gotten a handle of the universe, the show outdoes itself with ridiculousness. I find the show hilarious and slightly entertaining. Any plans to play Bravely Default on the 3DS? Has anyone come up with a snappy way to end FU emails yet? Keep those fandoms united. Chris. Boy, a bunch of questions here. Wolf Children, does anyone have any experience with that?
no.
I've seen GIFs of it.
That's all you
By
need.
all accounts, the GIFs are very cute, but I have not actually watched it.
I guess Sabrina wants to see episodes of Wolf Children.
This sounds like a good idea.
But have
It's
we
a
watched
movie.
it? No. Okay, well, it's a Wolf Children movie. Let's see. Yes, we've talked about the Sonic redesigns in the previous episode. Bandages. Hooray. Kill la Kill, it's on our list of stuff, so I'll have to catch up on it eventually.
They just finished episode 17. It's amazing.
Bravely Default on the 3DS, I don't know anything about it.
I saw an ad for that, and that's another one of those ones they really need to find someone who double checks the names when they get translated.
Uh-oh. What was it?
I don't know. I'm just saying that the name, the name, it just comes across as that.
It's
Bravely Default. Oh, I win by default. How
yeah.
brave of me.
I was gonna say, is this like the mortgage story? Or
quickly, let's These loans aren't going to take care of themselves.
It's like a Phoenix Wright style game, but it's like negotiating loans and
mortgage.
subprime
it's
mortgages.
a game about winning by default, so you have to not actively win. You have to try to make everybody else fail while you do nothing, so that you win by default.
That sounds like a great card game of the game of mediocrity, just attempting the best to be as mediocre as you can while making sure everyone else is less mediocre than you.
It's like that game of Chrononauts we played.
Something like that. Has anyone come up with a snappy way to end FU emails yet? No. All right, Jeremy, what's your email?
All right, so hey guys, let's listen to the EQG spoiler cast from last year. And the shipping name mentioned by AC reminded me of this.
Uh-oh.
It's a video. Okay, I should preview these things. 50 seconds in.
Shipping name, I don't know.
Oh, he got his flashlight. Haha.
Whoa.
It's Bert and Ernie ready for his bath. Yes, flashlight. Episode 114. Kefka's from Massachusetts.
Yes, I am.
Baston.
So is Nick. Thing is, I went to BronyCon 5 2013. Took a 6-hour road trip to Baltimore by car. All you really need to pay is the toll of the roadside food markets for when you're hungry. Depending on location, if Kefka went because the episode was out before the con, then he probably should have taken the same trip.
Well, that is technically true. I'm vaguely trying to think of what we were talking about there. Must have been trying to decide how to do it. Basically, I also drove down to BronyCon because it was a question of, well, should one take the train or should one drive? And this person says, well, you just have to pay the tolls and food and things like that. But I actually sat down and crunched how much it cost to drive to BronyCon. The tolls alone are worth like $50.
Yeah,
by themselves. It's $50 worth of tolls ish. You don't really realize it because I have an easy pass, so I just drive through all the toll booths. They're like, oh yeah, sure, pay the tolls, whatever. And then you have to pay for gas, even though my new car is more fuel efficient than my old Firebird. It's still 2 tanks ish worth of gas plus, which works out to be $80-ish. You realize that the cost of driving down there is like $160. A train ticket round trip is $200. So you could say to yourself, do you really want to deal with driving in New Jersey? Is spending $40 worth avoiding New Jersey? And
yes.
A lot of people will say yes. This year it's going to be different. Because,
I did it. I wouldn't recommend it.
I had to drive through parts of Massachusetts to get to Vermont on my last family reunion. And yeah, it's like toll roads and bad roads and people driving like maniacs.
And what about those damn what about those damn turnoffs in Jersey too, where if you want to make a left, you gotta take a right.
Take the
It's called
first
the jug
right
handle.
to hell.
Ugh.
It's actually a very smart traffic engineering idea. They show up in other places, not just New Jersey. But,
Anything that lets me get
and
through New Jersey faster.
pretty much.
So it's just one of those things where, as a vendor, I have a ton of stuff, and I hate lugging stuff on airplanes and trains. So if I can take my car somewhere, I appreciate it. Plus, this year, when I'm going to BronyCon, I will have my Epson 3880 large format printer with me to make 18 by 24s at my booth, which you can buy on demand. Ka-ching!
You still
So
say you
I
need to wear
can't bring that on a plane. I have to bring the printer with me. So I'll be driving down to BronyCon again this year.
Time for or go ahead.
I was just saying, I still say you really should wear like a chef's hat and apron while you're printing those out.
Hey, Wonder Prix, coming up.
The big pizza paddle.
This requires the necessary one does not merely drive into Baltimore joke. So
Yes.
let's see. Next up, referring to number 1.
Thoughts on a possible Equestria Girls 2? Well, it's happening.
I want it to be all about Flash Sentry. Just cannot.
All they got to
enough
do is
Flash
just do
Sentry.
gem with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah.
That's all we.
It's Jim. It looks like it's straight up Jim. So,
They should have just done gem in the first place.
but no, we have this new hot thing that, regardless of the fans, they will bitch about every single thing that happens with it, and then happily spend money on it over and over again. why even try when you can guarantee yourself, free publicity and people they'll go like, I didn't even like it. Let me pull out my wallet and put some more money down. That way I can go watch it again.
So mad.
Well, it's like cute little anecdote. I was out visiting. I was talking with my niece the other week, and she said, "Oh, you watching new ponies?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Did you see the one where they turned into girls?" And I said, "Yeah." What did you think? And she said, "I didn't like it." I said, "Good."
Good. Your niece has very good, very sharp perceptions and very good taste.
They'll still keep pushing it because the problem that Hasbro has is that it used to be in the old days they could just make 1 billion horses and they would sell because, well, there's 1 billion horses. Now that people are only buying 6 horses and they're like, oh crap,
Just make more recolors.
Make their mane sparkly, make them bigger, make them people, just
Give them all wings and horns.
I'm all for a fat, angry Rainbow Dash.
Yes, there we go.
Oh
Watch
boy.
me do flips.
Morning sickness rainbow dash. Whoa.
No, the fat, angry Rainbow. It's the one where it's the really big Rainbow Dash, and she has the legs, and the box says, "I really flip." It's like you push the button and she actually flips.
Oh yeah.
But the way they mold her, she looks like extra pudgy. It has a weird
Yeah.
duck face going. Just
Because they had to have the leg mechanisms. So I just think it's the cutest thing. It's a very silly toy, but it is cute.
All right, let's see. Next up, what we got multiple points. What else here, Sandy? Or Jeremy, whatever.
Let's see. Well, I know where Mr. Inter got most of his followers on his behalf. Thanks.
I don't know what that means.
I guess we promoted somebody and they got a bunch of followers, so that's cool. We're helping.
Or maybe villains, who knows?
Helping.
Yeah, villains, whatever. A bit sad, this Morona story has reminded me of the inverse of the story. It was because of the show that prevented suicides instead of enforced. Good luck, Michael. Signed, Nick, JPop4321, P.S. Weird Al, Mother of Celestia, Lauren Faust.
Speaking of, that Marone story did you know that Justin Bieber retweeted that?
Oh yeah, that's
Really?
definitely gonna help.
Yeah, Justin Bieber retweeted the Marone story. And then to make it worse, a Bieber fan then hijacked the original Marone's Twitter account to then go I love you, Justin Bieber. Like, they are the worst. The absolute you have hijacked a Twitter account of a kid currently in intensive care so that you could scream and go, I love you, Justin Bieber.
I would think hackers would be too smart to like Justin Bieber.
Just their
Well,
idiots.
it was actually because the family was like, oh, God, Justin Bieber has just given us way too much attention. This is really
in the worst
annoying.
possible way.
And they switched over to just like Michael Moronis or something similar. And so the pre-existing one got
Like suspended or
picked
something.
up. No, they just abandoned the name, so
Oh,
someone
okay.
else changed their account to it. Because, he tweeted about the account. Maybe he'll follow me. Ooh.
I'm just awaiting Justin Bieber's
Fire them
inevitable
all into the
Charlie
sun.
Sheen breakdown.
They do not deserve to breed.
Change their name.
That's harsh.
Ugh. They're Bieber fans. I think they follow someone who I think can rightfully be called a horrible human being.
Well, Justin Bieber is probably a horrible human being, but it's like, the old quote in Final Fantasy VI, the Empire may be evil, but not all of its citizens are.
So you're saying that not all people in music are evil?
No, not
Well,
all Justin Bieber fans are evil.
No, I'm not saying all Justin Bieber fans are evil.
How did we get on this topic?
I don't know.
Michael.
Whatever.
I'm waiting for Justin Bieber's like Charlie Sheen style flame out, and then we can go back to ignoring him.
And then, much like anything, another will appear to take his place. Kanye,
It's a vicious cycle.
Kanye's screaming hate child will burst through from what the Kardashians.
Oh my god, that
and
just gave me the worst image possible. Why did you have to use the words burst through? I totally had an alien image.
it's just gonna be
It's
this.
gonna be like Rosemary's Baby.
It's just gonna burst straight through from the Kardashians' chest. I'm gonna let you finish.
What?
Right.
Okay, so hey,
Carry on.
Beyonce!
Moving on. Nothing to see here.
You're welcome.
Kanye has to hunt it through the vents of his mansion like with his little like radar and a flamethrower.
It's ego.
Are you ready?
It has crazy ego powers that just. It's actually the first X-Man. It's just this creature that has the ability to manipulate time with its ego.
I'm getting a psychic signal from Dan that we should move on.
I guess so. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move forward. 5-star time. Go ahead and do that while I take a look for for a cool thing there, Jeremy.
All right, so 5-star Teens Brony's Week Desert Nocturne gave us a nice review for both shows. That was great. We did get a donation this week from an In Bouvine. And show-wise, well, we're certainly in the TV and film 120. Where exactly? Wow, we're up near the top today. Whatever black magic it is, they calculate it. We're like number 14, right behind Tested. Oh, Adam Savage.
Way to go.
Yay.
Black magic of statistics.
It's like, I really wonder what these people that do these shows are like, Jillian Michaels and, Adam Savage.
Who are these people?
These NPR Pop Culture Happy Hour. And it's like, then there's this Cartoon Horse podcast. I wonder how these people feel.
They're probably happy for you, man.
Yeah. But it's
Well,
cool.
they never call us.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you tweet at Rob Paulson, he'll talk back.
Yeah, we could have it. We'll have him on for the Animaniacs episode. That'd be great.
I would like that. There's a few people I would like there with some of the episodes we've got out there listed. There's certainly either production staff or people who've worked on it. I would love to get Terry McGovern on to talk some DuckTales and stuff like that. That would be fantastic. But you will
Any landing you can walk away from is a good one.
There you go. Or the one
Any
time
crash.
the one time that he actually landed and he was so upset with himself.
I know.
He's like, "Aw." Let's see. Let me get into the duck real fast so I can add in my cool thing.
I did think it was cool. Just on a complete unrelated note, the Pinky Pride episode was especially nostalgic for me because I've listened to Weird Al since I was like a really, really little kid.
Dr. Demento, man.
Oh, I remember watching the Weird Al TV show. I saw UHF.
Oh, UHF is so good.
UHF is great. I still have in my room. I have my copy of Weird Al in 3D on vinyl. And I remember, like, the tape that my brother and I listened to until it literally broke was the Food album on cassette. Like, so, yeah, that was really cool. Huge Weird Al fan.
All right, let's see. Well, let's go ahead and move forward down here. Do we have any donators, by the way?
Yes, I listed In Bouvier, or In Bouvine.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move this. It is One Cool Thing time. It's when we give you a single link that you should probably go check out if you didn't pay attention to a single thing this whole episode. You should probably check it out. I watched this a little earlier today after catching up on some of the Steven Universe. It's a top 10 failed animation pilots. Animation.
That sounds interesting.
Is Korgoth on that list?
Yes, Korgoth is on that list.
That was such a weird...
They are just a list of some recent stuff that just did not take, and I can't recall most of them, but there definitely is. Let me see if the list here goes through and explains some of them. Sailor Moon USA, Vern on Vacation, Three Dog Band, Kargoth of Barbaria, The Modifiers, Dead Time Stories, Welcome to Ellington, Lakewood Plaza Turbo, and Constant Pain.
I'm sad the one cartoon pilot that was not picked up I'm really sad about was The Amazing Screw-On Head. If anyone's seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That was certainly interesting. It had a really weird animation style.
It was based on a comic book.
It was Magnolia, yeah. But that was one I'm sad didn't get picked up just because I could listen to David Hyde Pierce to say things all day. And his portrayal in that cartoon was great.
And
right.
actually, it's mentioned in the link that AC posted that I forgot Screw On Head was a pilot. Because people were like, "You forgot this."
Yep.
Mine is decidedly less serious. It is.
Is it?
He's finally caught up with the whole slam thing.
Love, in a just train wrecky sort of way, all the various ways that you can remix Slam Jam into pretty much every song. This one actually takes it a step further and takes Let It Go from Frozen, and they made a video based upon the video that Disney had released and from the movie. Just Let It Slam. There's actually an entire subreddit linked to this just called Come On and Slam, and people post 5 or 6 new ones a day. It's kind of ridiculous.
It is frightening how well Charles Barkley goes with everything. My favorite is the Ghostbusters one. That one's great.
Yeah.
I'm playing it in the background just so people can be horrified.
It is a horrible glory.
I do enjoy...
The video adds to it, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, when she summons the snow sparkles, it's basketballs.
Yes. There's those, what was it, there's also another one of the Come On and Slam remixes, which is the remix of, the, Rainbow Factory song that from Fim Flam Philosophy's thing. I absolutely love that just because it does also goes so well together. Yeah, it's anything that whole Come On and Slam thing is so stupid.
The Come On and Slam remix of the Hotline Miami soundtrack.
Oh God!
Oh, that was a good one.
God! I can only imagine.
It's great.
Ugh. Okay. So yeah, there's Let It Slam and the R Come On and Slam Reddit. Dan, you've got 2 of them.
No,
I don't have
one
2. One of those is not me.
Okay.
The second one's mine.
Okay.
Okay. So you should fix that.
Fix that.
Yeah, but mine is related to this, and it's the Steven Universe soundtrack. The people who composed the music, it's a duo. The nickname is not quite sure the right way to pronounce Sarashu. I think maybe that's it, but it's Ivy and Sarashu who do the music for Steven Universe, and they have pretty much not all of them, but most of the songs from the show. So you can go to SoundCloud and listen to them and enjoy all the great music that Steven Universe has.
Yeah. Let me see if I can cue one of these up and control it. Nope. It's loud.
It is loud. SoundCloud by default is loud.
Cool.
Yeah, they have all of these up here. So that's
Look.
all a bunch of the stuff from the Steven's Lion. There's Tiger Millionaire. Oh God, I wish I could. I really wish SoundCloud would allow me to actually like turn down the volume independently.
This is futile.
Because I would just love to play these, and not completely drown out what you guys are gonna say. Let's see, Purple Puma Tiger Millionaire theme. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was hoping that they would post from, I think it was in Steven's Lion, there was a song in the background that sounded a lot like Yes, the band Yes. And it sounded either like it was Starship Trooper or, Time and Award. Like they were doing some homage to it. And I'm like, man, but the problem is either Pearl or Garnet or somebody was talking over the top of it. So I couldn't really listen to it. But this has given me the opportunity to go back and really enjoy some of those good songs. Like from the Together Breakfast, where they have the bit where they're assembling the breakfast. It plays this little cheery do, 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 do. And you can download that and listen to it whenever you want.
Okay.
Peruse your Roger Dean album covers.
Yes.
All right, and let's see. And Roger, you've got the listing of the Blade itself, Amazon, so you can go grab that hardcover for $30, paperback for $13, or Audible for $16, or free with Audible subscription. So, there's that out there. We also have some listing here from the fans, Dr. and Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Pinkie Pie and Pinkamena, part 1, 2, and 3. Listed in for you.
Should we allow random people to put stuff in one cool thing?
Yeah, they can do that. We've started opening it up to the masses. For
have you seen the masses these days?
they're massive. So,
We haven't had to
to lock them down yet.
Yes.
Yeah, they're playing good.
Yet.
They get silly once the actual show ends and they start adding everything in. But no, they've been good.
Then I lock it down.
Yeah, lock it down. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. That has been your FU episode for Steven Universe. Thank you very much. First off, I want to go ahead and thank Dan and Roger for both coming in and being silly goobers about some Steven Universe.
Oh, not a problem, man.
Yep.
Yeah, you both are such knowledgeable nerds. It's nice to have you on with us. Knowledgeable.
Sometimes I wish I had a
nerds.
little less knowledge. Sometimes.
I would say a questionable honor, perhaps.
Yeah.
You are my Thunder Maker, Jeremy.
You can count on me.
I do. And thank you to all the fans out there for either of our shows. Thank you very much for listening with us this week. If you want to go ahead and find out more about us, BronyShow.com, BronyvillePodcast.com, email across at Bronyville@gmail. You can join us roughly every Saturday, noon Pacific at Justin.tv/BronyvillePodcast. iTunes reviews, we surely do love them. Please leave us some and we will talk about your name on the show. My Twitter account is at Bronyville.
Mine's just Andy.
And conventions, we are looking at BabsCon coming up, so let's do that. All right, that'll take care of us for this episode. Next week, more horse. We'll talk about horse. We'll talk about white horses and orange horses and things like that. So
Then yellow horses too, I think.
yellow horse. We'll talk about yellow
Yep.
horse. Okay, we'll talk horses next week. This week, nerdy cool stuff. Next week, horse. So we'll go ahead and catch you on that next week. Till then, sleep well, everyone.
Adios.
Good night, everybody.
Stay classy, everyone.